Many thanks, Kirawa. Joining me for some experts analysis, former Army spokesman, retired Brigadier General Sani Usman, as well as youth activist Mohammed Bukar. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. I'll begin with you, Brigadier General, sir. The claim the governor has made, to what extent is this a national security concern?
Good evening, and thank you for having me on the program. I think it is not just the governor. Every other Nigerian is concerned about the recent happening in the Northeast, particularly in view of the fact that there were 3 attacks in Wajirko, in Sabongari, Damboa local government, and Wulgur in Barungala, as well as Isgi in Goza local government area. And yes, because there is a kind of nexus or relationship between security and development. I can understand the governor is trying to bring about meaningful development to the people, and that cannot be possible if the environment is not scared. But we tend to forget one thing. Since 2016, when this faction of the Boko Haram terrorist group, or insurgent group, so to speak, led allegiance with ISIS. And given the resilient nature of these violent extremists, they won't give up. So the best thing is to also be ahead of them. And more so, the worrying thing is that there is a new dimension, the use of technology, even on the part of insurgents, the use of armed drones to carry out these attacks. Unlike in those days, that they will use, suicide bombers or vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices and what have you. So they have upped the game. But the most worrisome, again, is the infiltration of the foreigners into. Although we have had instances, even when I was in the service, when we have had instances, we had foreign fighters. But this time around, it's not just issue of foreign fighters coming with technology and all the rest, but there is the upscale of the war economy system, in the sense that there are so many other people that are benefiting from this conflict as such. So it is not surprising that we are seeing its escalation, and you cannot divorce it. And I'm so happy the governor make reference to it in isolation with the international geopolitical happenings within, especially the West Africa or the Sahelian region. Take, for instance, our relationship with some of our, neighboring countries, the, back and forth in respect of international joint tax force and what have you. And if you look at what is happening, especially in some parts of African countries, thank God that we have had semblance of kind of development in the Sudan, which acts as a buffer zone. Now you can, they purchase arms at will and all the rest. So there are no more buffer zones, and these guys take and do advantage of it to come down to Nigeria. So basically, if we are talking about national security, it has grievous implications to national security, not just Borno State or Northeast Nigeria, because the military or the security forces have done marvelously well, and we are now experiencing some semblance of setback. Even those who are familiar with the environment will understand that it is at the fringes of the military deployment. Take, for instance, when you talk about Wulgu, if you look at Ran and all the rest of them, it is a bit far away and all the rest of, but that is not an excuse. I think it's more or less like a wake-up call on all the people that are concerned, the military itself, and including the government. To what extent are they improving the equipment and the logistic holding of the military, especially vis-a-vis this issue of technology as against the equipment holding we have had. You remember when they infused the T-72 tanks and all the rest, they were kind of a watershed or a turning point to the fight against terrorism and insurgency in the Northeast. But now the issue of use of technology is the end thing. So we have to. And above that,
we'll come to that, sir. We'll come to that because the governor. We'll come to that because the governor actually alluded to that, and I'm going to ask you specifically about it. But I want to bring in Mr. Mohammed Bukar and just ask quickly, for a while, 3 years perhaps, there's been some relative peace in Borno, except some isolated cases. What could have gone wrong that would warrant the governor to literally cry out?
Yeah, actually, I think what's became a problem is for us to be able to sustain the relative peace that we got over the 3 years. And I see much has to be done in the aspect of, youth empowerment, try to, build up this youth's capacity for them to be able to not, go and regroup with these insurgents again. When you look at it, they will be able to get, a kind of connection with the teeming youths that are in all these villages that are willing to join them again, because some don't have food to feed on, they don't have business to do, and they were not properly educated, or they were not properly trained to, be so resilient with this present economic situation. So a lot of youths are now, getting to meet them and, regroup with them, take their training, take their doctrine to reattack the, vulnerable communities in this rural area.
You're saying that some of these are as a result of hunger, not more about any kind of ideology?
Yes, most definitely. Definitely.
Something has to be done about that, like you said.
Idleness.
All right, let's come back to you, Brigadier. You were trying to get on to the issue of tech, and I had to pause you to bring in Mr. Bukar. But let's talk about that. The governor did say that he is concerned that equipment, high-level military equipment from the Northeast is being moved to other regions. Is there validity to this allegation that the governor has made? And if it is true, what needs to be done quickly?
Well, I cannot say, because I'm not in the military. I think it's left for the military to say whether actually they are shortchanging the Northeast in favor of other geopolitical zones, particularly possibly the Northwest. And whatever, be it as it may, I think the whole idea is that even in the Northwest, they are complaining bitterly in respect of this issue of equipment. So, but I think it's left for them to answer. But the most important thing here is that how do we mitigate the security challenges vis-a-vis the so-called the rising attacks in the Northeast and, of course, other parts of the country, as it were. And I have mentioned the issue of the use of technology, because the criminal elements or the terrorists now, they have affected the use of technology. Particularly, it is not just reconnaissance drones. Now they use armed drones. Who get them these armed drones? And who train them? Where do they get these foreigners that train them? Because so these are questions that we are going to ask. Right now, some foreigners have been arrested from not even from African continent. How do they even come into this country? Of course, we have borders. I don't think they might have come legitimately and all the rest. So these are questions that we need to ask. And anyway, poverty is no excuse for crime. And we cannot in any way discontinent the issue of ideology. And I made reference to the fact that they are very, very resilient, in the sense that they just believe that to them they are fighting in the name of God. So there is every likelihood that factor will still be ingrained in them. But that notwithstanding, just like Bukar has mentioned, also we have to look at this issue, because any time you see security challenges is a failure of governance. So we have to improve the socio-economic well-being of the average youth or the Nigerian society, as it were, particularly the youth, who constituted over 67% of the total population of this country and various parts of this country, not just in the Northeast or Borno State, as it were. So it's a kind of multifaceted thing. It is not just, well, you are trying to address the equipment holding shortage of the military or the security forces. We have to also see how best we can have constructive engagement. I know Borno State is doing very well because I know the Borno example, initiative where they have packages for them, integrating all these people. But that notwithstanding, we have to also look at our relationship with our immediate neighbors. The issue of geopolitics is coming into play. More so, you look at the relationship of ECOWAS and back and forth now with the French and all the rest, Mali, Niger, and what have you. These are issues that we have to take into consideration. The use balls, the equipment, and of course geopolitics.
From what you're saying, it is hydra-headed and needs to be tackled from all fronts. But let's go back to Mr. Bukar and just ask, what can be done, rather, from a multi-stakeholder standpoint to restore the gains that Borno State had made against insecurity in recent years, pending when these hydra-headed issues are taken on?
I think the Borno State government has to, step up with their, stakeholders engagement. They have to, improve how they communicate with the, traditional rulers. They have to improve how they communicate with their youth groups and the youth leaders that are within Borno State and the local governments. Let there be a very good communication. Then let there be some kind of skill acquisition. Yes, a lot have been done so far, but I believe what these young people need is a very good startup grant for them to be able to, sustain themselves and their families. Without that, I don't think we're going to be able to control this ticking time bomb, because like a few weeks ago, there was an attack inside Maiduguri metropolis. Yes, somewhere behind the teaching hospital of Maiduguri. Some, element of the Boko Haram came, and they're also hungry from the bushes. So when they came, they had to, convert all the people living around this place to bring out all the foodstuffs they have in their houses. They carted away with their foodstuffs, you understand. So if they can have this kind of infiltration into the city, you understand, without, with them being caught or them being curtailed, I think they have a free right to do whatever thing they want to do inside the capital city. So we have to tighten up our belts. Let's have a lot of engagements, sensitization and a lot of other things. And all these things we need to support from the national government also, to come up with a lot of programs for this youth empowerment and skills acquisition.
All right, Brigadier General, in 1 minute, if you can, long-term strategies for ensuring sustainable security in Borno and other parts, not just in the interim.
I think you have to look at where we are coming from, way back from 2009 to date. What are those things that we have been doing? And basically, the fight against terrorism and insurgency was predicated on three things. First, you have to deal with the insurgents and make room for humanitarian activities. Then, of course, the third aspect is bring in, to ensure that law and order. There is limit to which the military will do. That means at the same time when you are fighting, you are programming other components of Nigerian society to take over. To what extent have we been doing so? Borno State has been doing marvelously all by itself. What are the level of support does it get from the federal government? These are the issues. And of course, the military alone cannot do it, or the security forces. So it's a collective responsibility. So when you are talking about long term, and I'm so happy with this constructive engagement with the components of the Borno State. But of course, Borno State should know that they cannot work in isolation. Therefore, they have to work with their counterparts in Yobe and other northeastern states. And beyond that, of course, the neighboring countries of Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, so that how best they can. Because some of these issues, take for instance, especially the attacks around Goza, Pulka, and all the rest of them, these guys are somewhere in between Cameroon and Nigeria on top of the Mandara Mountains. So to what extent have we constructively engaged our neighboring Cameroon and, of course, what extent are we equipping our Air Force so that it can deal decisively with these people, hibernating on top of those mountains? These are the issues. So it's a collective thing, and if you are thinking of a long-time program, these are the things that you have to consider. Of course, I'm not discounting the issue of, addressing the youth boldness, especially in that part of the country. Take, for instance, yes, like you made reference to it, but most importantly, it is not just about the youth. There is a conspiracy of silence among the
I would love to hear you continue, but we're time constrained. So we have to say thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate the insights that both of you have provided for us tonight.
Right.